do what we love. Risk the follow, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A solar ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last strike. Hearing voices from afar, join the madness when the curtain falls. Risk it all, hold nothing back. Seize the day, we must attack. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A solar ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last strike. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we bring to fall the giants?
kid. How could you do it to this man?
I was gonna say that. Everyone was calling me delusional.
Sometimes you take a bunch of damage so that you can deal a bunch of damage.
Be going back there. That's gonna be sub pushed way far back. But what are you doing? Gonna get caught on out. JDK gonna get stunned on up, and now it's
Get you on second. Nice.
so much damage.
There's one more out of that sage. You take it out of.
Look at this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Weekly Word tonight on this beautiful Sunday evening. Brought to you by one caster from each of our leagues, plus one of our upcoming players from one of our show matches this week. This week, we have one of our 80 carries from Divine Ascension Obsidian in Light League. But that was a very formal introduction. We are not formal today. Absolutely not. Angry Octopus time. Now, our player of the week here, we have ThePonyGOAT, again, joining you from Divine Ascension Obsidian. How are you doing tonight here?
I'm doing great. It's a little bit of a weird vibe. I've been hanging out with these guys for like half an hour already, and bedtime. I'm feeling bedtime. These guys are weird.
Yeah, so how has your team been doing? You're currently undefeated in Light League. How is that going for you?
Yeah, it's going pretty good, but there are like 12 asterisks beside it. We played 8 games, played 6 Zig games. We are 12-0, and I think everyone else will put a quotation mark around that.
I'm definitely putting a quotation mark around it. Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Moose. I'm your Light League shoutcaster here, bringing you guys the Light League performances. And before we go any further, I'm going to talk for a second, but I want to give a quick shout out to Camcom. Thank you so much for helping getting everyone set up, saying, hey, we should do this. It's been a ton of fun being able to just prep this and trying to get this all figured out. Shout out to Dory as well, making sure that the production is running smoothly. Shout out to him. And then we've got a fun show here today. You know, like Cam was saying, week 1 of this kind of like podcast, informal, semi-formal, super formal, whatever you want to talk about. Not everything, but you know, we can talk about what we want to talk about here on XLNC, just to a point. But it's gonna be fun, and I'm so glad to be a part of this. We got mid league, which is represented by who's representing mid league? Oh, it's the man, the myth. Is it the PwnStarShibby? No way. No way. No way. No, we got all the fun guys here. We got the Pawn Star ready to go.
Yeah, Pawn Stars from the famous History Channel TV show Pawn Stars. It's not Pawn Star because apparently I'm too old to remember when that was an actual term used by gamers. I don't know. It just kind of faded out of fashion. But yeah, mid league is very, very spicy right now. I would say the standings, it's very top heavy. Then you get to the bottom and then it just becomes a fiesta. It becomes a beautiful fiesta, a siesta. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It just becomes really, really nice. We're going to talk a lot about that team. We're going to talk a lot about, you know, powerful and killable poros. We're going to talk a lot about we're going to talk about CB Rush. We're going to talk about their ADC a little bit. We'll get into it. We'll get into the mix of things. But I think we should just start with Light League, right? I think that's probably, you know, as order dictates. We should talk about Light League. We have PwnStarShibby, like you said, and we have Moose ready on the dial.
You know, it was, you know, we could mix it up. We could start with Heavy League, of course. You know, week 1 underway. Camcom, I mean, just real quick. I mean, initial thoughts, better than mid league?
Oh, I don't know, man. Mid league was pretty fun last season, and I guess I haven't given it a instruction myself. In case you somehow have never seen me before in your life, hello, I am Camcom. I was a mid league caster last season. I am a heavy league caster this season, and I play on a mid league team, Powerful Unkillable Poros. Obviously, the best team name ever in the history of team names. Currently playing in mid league, I am the team captain and support. Sport also the best position. But yes, Heavy League this season has so far had some weird scheduling issues because there's been a lot of reschedules, so the standings are very. You can see there's like some teams that are still at 3 games. A lot of teams have had buys because unfortunately we still only have 7 teams. We do need an 8th team, by the way. Still, hopefully we will have an 8th team coming up shortly, but still need a sign up for that one. But buys coming in, reschedules coming in. It's hard to tell who's at the top and who's the bottom.
Right. Yeah. It's you guys have like just started still.
Yeah.
Like everything's still kind of like figuring out all that fun stuff. So we'll eventually get there. But I know for sure, and PwnStarShibby, I think we can agree. We've got a lot to talk about for Light League. We're about halfway through the season, about halfway through the split. You know, DAO. We got Divine Ascension Obsidian 12-0 so far in the league. PwnStarShibby. I mean, where are you at, PwnStarShibby, right now? Oh, yeah, you're second place on the XLNC ratings, 48.7 KGB.
The most important.
The most important. You know, that's the important part. You know, that's why we got PwnStarShibby here. He kind of knows what he's doing. Just a little bit, though.
Yeah, we actually flamed our jungler so hard for not knowing where bot lane is that he decided he needed to be the MVP. So he's definitely not been a KDA player for the last 2 weeks. He for sure loves us still. Shout out to KGB. No, I'm not. I am not convinced at all. We've busted this man up so many times. I feel really bad, honestly. We're so mean to him. Like, he thinks, we tell him all the time that he thinks the map ends where Dragon is. And the guys that just show up there to help you get it, like, he doesn't know where they come from. We don't know his name. He doesn't know us. We just don't talk.
I can see it, you know, and that's, I played, so on the topic of KGB, because, I mean, obviously he's not here, so we got to talk about him a little bit. I was playing with him. I was playing a couple of games with him on Tuesday after the show. He was like, hey, you want to play some duo queue? Want to talk about some things, you know, just hang out. And so I play jungle, you know, obviously, you know, I'm the meme silver 3 jungle player. So I'm just kind of trying to get myself into gold. So I'm playing jungle. He's playing mid lane and he's playing bottom lane. And let me tell you, he's a one-roll pony. He's a one-roll pony. I don't think that he has the ability to play really well in either of those roles. I wasn't impressed. I mean, 4 out of 10. Would duo again because he's better than me, but definitely probably felt the pain of not having any support in the bottom lane because I'm notorious for that as well. But I mean, right now, you know, DAO 12-0. We did get another team that was filling in for that last spot. There were, I think, 3 teams: Lotus Black, DAO, or not Lotus Black. It was Grin Reapers, DAO, and Degenerates that all got a bye. I mean, at the end of the day, it's cool to have that bye, but now every team has played at least 3 matches. There's no excuse saying, hey, you know, oh, he's only at the top of the list because he's, you know, he only had 9 games to play. He has 8 games to play because you also like made the FF on, who was it? CV Stonk Squad or something?
Yeah,
in
game
week
3 they forfeited. Yeah,
they forfeited. But I mean, like, you guys are playing well. Like, you guys have done some great work. You guys are obviously at the top of the list. In terms of like everything about it, like you're everywhere across the board. Highest damage per minute, really close to the top in a lot of those stats from somebody. You've even got like gold per minute is pretty much all of the top 2 are you guys, it feels like. So, and on top of that, it's like, you know, kills per game. You've got KGB in second assists per game. You guys are just running the ripped in Light League right now.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because it feels really great. This is the first league I've played in, so it feels really nice to have people say nice things about you and the way that you're playing. But like, I play with 4 other guys who are really good at the game. A lot of times I feel like I probably have some of the lower lows, and you know, they play fantastic games, and it's great to play with that group of guys. So sometimes it kind of makes me feel really bad to hear them not talked about as much. They're really good, especially like Ted Garcia is following up. KGB is ahead of me, and the first person I jump to is Ted Garcia. Like, they're all so good. So make sure you give them their credit. Those guys are good, and they're fun to play with.
No, I absolutely.
No, I wanted to talk about too. Was doing some VOD review on the Light League games and just looking at the match history.
Sorry.
It seems that it seems that, you know, out of all the teams in Light League, I feel like Divine Obsidian definitely has like solid meta read. Like you guys have your comforts for sure, but it feels like you guys understand what's strong, and you guys you guys pretty much play right. Like barring the meme Ziggs pick, right? You played I think Ziggs 5 games and they got banned against you, but also like your jungler, your support. Like I feel like you guys out of all the teams know what's strong and know what to play. Do you think that's kind of like a pitfall of some of the other teams? I can ask this for both Moose and PonyGOAT. Do you feel like just other teams are really only sticking to comfort and they're not playing what's strong right now?
I feel like we played against a lot of teams who have had decent meta reads. Nothing like completely crazy. A lot of our meta read comes from Chris Saturation. He plays on Divine Ascension Emerald. He's our coach. And so a lot of times he talks draft with us and gives us good reads. I think luckily for us, the meta is just in a really like strong spot for what we like to play already. Although I don't know if the top lane meta is Aurelia. I don't know exactly how that works. We just give Ted a carry champ and it's the meta. So
top lane is one of those lanes that just kind of is whatever, right? It's super matchup dependent rather than like at least in my opinion, like a very this is what's strong. It's like, okay, well, we'll give you this guy, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna pick this into it, and you can't lane for the rest of the game. This is how I've always viewed top lane. Moose, do you kind of feel that same way about the meta read about some of the teams here, the higher ones and the lower ones?
Like okay, if we're talking competitive meta, I don't think that there is like, hey, we need to ban out X because it played really well in competitive this week. Like I don't think that that's what's happening with a lot of the bans that I've been seeing. Like a lot of the players, especially in the pick ban plays, in that first phase, it's like saying, hey, who are we worried about? Oh, if we're worried about Feathers and Fur, for example, on oh god, the names are like escaping me right when I need them the most. Grin, Feathers and Fur. He gets last week. I think he got he at least got a ban in the first three in the pick ban phase from his opponent in all 3 games against CB Stonk Squad. But even still, like he just played champions that he was good with, champions that we've seen a lot from Feathers and Fur, for example. So he's gotten the Urgot, he's gotten just I think he played like Trundle or Alawi even as well. Like a lot of what the champions and a lot of the meta is when it comes to pick bans is saying, hey, who are we scared? I feel like it's who are we scared of in the other team? Oh, we're scared of the ADC. We're scared of, Bixus's Varus, for example, or Severe, for example. Let's go ahead and let's ban it. Free Bixus, by the way. I guess that's the meme, right? I just like I'm looking down on the list. I'm looking down on it. Like it's more or less trying to be able to ban out something that you're worried about. And then in game 2, game 3, maybe adapting, saying, okay, well, this support played really well for our opponent. Let's ban that out. There's not really any sort of I feel like meta that's developing quite yet. Obviously, I mean, the last point that I would say is Trundle and Zinzao are still played or banned pretty consistently. Those are our top 2 junglers. Ziggs, PonyGOAT can attest to that. He's played a lot of Ziggs, but other players have played Ziggs as well. Like, it's not like not used. So it's still there. So 15 games, number 4 on the most picked champions.
Yeah, it seems like Light League. Yeah, Light League has gotten some Ashe prio as well, right? As it's been rising, I feel like Ashe has been super important in the past couple weeks, right? It was only coming up as like that secondary engage or like as an answer after Varus and stuff got nerfed. Do you think that's just like an internal meta kind of thing where it's like every game, every best of 3 or not best of 3 block of 3, there's like a little internal meta going in? It's like, well, why don't we just take Ashe and just have our AD carry do the engaging?
If you're gonna call yourself an ADC, you have to have an Ashe ready to go. Like you have to. There's no excuse. Know how to play Ashe, press R and land the arrow, make it happen.
Yeah, it's idiot proof. ADCs are idiots, and that champion is the best idiot proof thing I've ever seen in my life. And you can literally just walk come on, look at a gold 4 ADC and ask me if I could walk them down with W level 1 on Ashe, and the answer is yes, like 19 out of 20 times.
I mean, easy. I also want to talk about how come there's no Aphelios in Light League? Is that just too hard of a champion right now, or is it just you guys aren't getting the Thresh? Like, I feel like Aphelios is one of those champions that's been super, super strong, and Light League's just not picking it up for some reason.
We're not getting to the. I don't think we're getting to the late game. I don't think that that's it's such a scary pick in Light League because the games can just snowball out of control
I
so
see.
fast. And if you end up missing it, like if the Aphelios doesn't get help early on and you don't get those successful ganks, like it's a lot like a Samira, like, hey, feast or famine kind of thing. Like you have to be able to get to that late game. You got to be able to get to that point where you are unkillable and unbeatable in the 1v1 or in the 1v2. And I don't think we're getting there. We're not seeing massive CS advantages for a lot of ADCs. We're not seeing, I mean, yes, the CS is good for some ADCs, but they've got other champions that they can play. So why go for the high risk, high skill Aphelios when you can do the same thing with Ziggs or Ashe or
Tristana,
you know?
Yeah,
I've
Tristana has
actually
been
got-
seeing a lot.
I've actually got
go.
a completely different read on Aphelios, but I'm locked in Ziggs jail. So when they let me out, I'll play some Aphelios. I've actually played like 5 straight Aphelios games in Flexed. I think it is like the weak early game feels really overstated. Him with the green gun, level 1 and level 2, and those early lanes, you actually get a lot of great opportunities to bully low range ADCs. And I think you can actually build a really strong CS lead if you know how to pull and manage the waves. And especially with Kraken Slayer, you have the early damage with the Runons to like actually not make it to late game and have any problems. So if I get out of Ziggs jail, we'll talk about it and maybe we can get those numbers up, but we'll see.
Maybe he'll just be an Aphelios. One trick after that, just no more
Yeah.
Ziggs jail.
Thank God. Get
I'll just lock
Ziggs
the one
out of the
champion.
bottom lane. Just get rid of it. I'm done with it.
SOS.
The bombs are fun.
I
But
wanted to.
can-
Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry. Go on.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah,
This
I
is
kind of
you.
wanted to talk about light leagues. You know, it feels like light leagues is super jungle heavy, or like a league. Like I'm looking at your KDA players, I'm looking at your MVP ratings. You got like 2 junglers in the top 3. You've got a couple junglers in kills per game. Does that just attest to that like high snowball play style that we see? It's just like, oh, whichever jungler just gets the most ganks off pre 15 minutes, that's just who's gonna win. Is that really what light league is right now?
I mean, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that it's that jungle's the most important role from the jungle main being biased, but you definitely like jungle's just so important in being able to control the map and being able to control the river for a lot of these for obviously it doesn't matter what league you're in, what play or what level of play you're at. If you can control the river, if you can have that placement, if you can have that that safety or that pressure in a lane, it makes it hard for the opponent to feel comfortable to go for that CS, to go for those kills, etc., etc., etc. I feel like there's a clear line. You're either, a top 4 team and you have a really good jungler. We can talk about those top 4 junglers. Then there's like everyone else where I'm not getting like,
Not sold?
I've yet to see them be, I'm not sold yet. We're still halfway through. Like I'm not losing hope on some of these jungle plays, but I'm not sold that it's solely the jungle that's important, more so making sure that if the Trundle is the Xin Zhao are picked up or available, that you pick it up and you're able to use it.
No.
That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
That's your professional opinion on.
That's my professional moose opinion. But I mean, other than the jungle, other than like the actual players themselves, because like we do have some really strong players that in the league. Like I think obviously we're gonna talk about PwnGOAT a little bit more. PwnGOAT doing really well and making things happen. Smart Pants in there, or talking about jungle, for example, Smart Pants, KGB. They're 2 junglers in the top 5 for the XLNC MVP ratings. We've also got 2 ADCs in the MVP rating as well, and our 3 in the top 10. If you count, if you go down to the top 10, Pixis, Travis, and Goat are all within 8 points of each other for the MVP rating. So, like, for me, I would say that a strong bottom lane has been the key for a lot of these players. A lot of these teams, a good roaming mid or someone that can hold their own in the mid lane has been really like undervalued. And the mid laner that has more global pressure, I feel like, has been working really well for teams. And then top lane, you've got to win your 1v1 if you're in the top lane. Like, just do it. You might get 1 or 2 ganks, and if you're successful there, then great. But if not, win. Like, win your 1v1, and your team will do well. Is the play of it? Because it's like, oh man, yeah. There's no MVP presence in the top lane. Feathers and Fur is like 20th, and that he's the top laner.
No way. Ted Garcia's got to be up there. You're spitting lies if my boy Teddy's not up there.
Well, no, he's not even down there.
No, the thing with Ted though is that he has like gold per minute stats. He has the highest, I assume, highest gold difference per game stat is just against your opposing laner, and he's on top of that. He's on top of those. Like Ted Garcia, yeah, he's got highest kills per game. That's kind of crazy that he's not on the MVP rating. I guess it's just
20.
That's just top lane, right? I would say that's just top lane.
Yeah.
He's number 20
ish.
But I mean, like, you gotta go down. Oh, excuse me.
Just a guess. I just kind of guessed. It's like 20-ish.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ted Garcia is fine, but but he's not in the top 10 yet. He's not in like there's 280 or 3 ADCs in the top 10. There's what, 2 junglers, 2 middles. Where's our top laners? Like, it just goes to attest that, like, win the 1v1, and you're gonna be at the top of the top laners, and you're gonna have the highest gold diff per game. And I mean, you guys are 12-0, so you can't deny that. Maybe that's the key. Having a good top laner is the key to winning the game. It's the anchor. It's not the anchor, but it's the stabilizing force that keeps everything together. Without it, nothing will happen. You can't make it work because you're so weak on that top side. I don't know, but Goat, like, you, or at least like from the games that you've played, like, I feel like the standings, and I feel like a lot of the teams that are, within the top 6, top 7 right now, like, any one of them can go into the playoffs and could potentially take a game off of you, especially with the schedule that you guys have got coming up for DAO. You guys have got some tough opponents coming into week 5 and then onward.
Yeah, I mean, being 12-0 is really cool, and it's really fun and really exciting. But like, in my head, and it's gonna make my teammates upset, I think, I do not at all expect to go undefeated the rest of the way. Like, having that expectation would be completely unrealistic. I think we're a good team, and like, we got a solid start. We got so far to go, and every time we scrim DAE, they show us that very clearly and very often. So I fully believe any of these teams could take us the distance at any given time. We got a long way to go. We're good, but
have you watched any of Travis's games on the Grim Reapers yet?
Did they play Lotus?
I don't know if they played. Have they played Lotus? I don't think so yet. I'm checking right now. But no, not
Otherwise,
yet.
I haven't, because
They
the only games
haven't.
I've seen have been when we finish and we can catch. For some reason, the only team that's ever playing when we're done is Lotus, even though we start at like 8:30. I don't know. Maybe we just speedrun teams.
I mean, you do have pretty low match times, to be honest with you. Like, they're pretty.
Yeah. I think we had that one forfeit, and I got to see a game. But we are literally playing when they play. So
I'm really excited to see what you guys do, like, moving into week 8, week 9, because like week 7 is, what is it? Week 6 is Grin Reapers. Week 7 is Degenerates, and then week 8 is Lotus Black. Like, you guys.
I have anxiety problems, Moose. Like, I get stressed out pretty easily. Like,
but it's what we're looking forward to. Like, this.
Yeah, you're looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what the Pony Goat's going to bring to the table up against some of the other, like, great teams that are in the league, the contenders that are going to potentially get those first, second seeds. Because at this point, like, I feel like you guys are playoff bound. Like, I don't expect you guys to fall that far low into the standings that you don't make playoffs. Like, I'm just wondering. Oh my god! I'm just wondering if you're going to be able to keep up, and if you're going to be able to stay in first or second seed.
Yeah, no. I think that's a great question. Is like all these teams are really good, and we've been given like a few free passes here and there.
Mhm.
I think what's really cool about us is like I still in my head don't think we played that many games together. Like Corey and I have again like less than 20 games at this point all time together in bot lane, and so it's really a large balancing act of like, hey man, I didn't know you were going to be gone for 5 minutes from this lane, and we should really talk about that or whatever. Like Corey and I got a long way to go, and I think we both know that, and it's on both of us. But we're getting better. We played great today, just in some flex. I'm definitely nervous. I don't know if the rest of the guys are. They're so hypey. Sometimes I feel like their dad just trying to be like, we'll go up 2-0 in a series, and like we get so excited and we start talking about random stuff, and then it's just like, by the way, this third game counts just as much. Like, I know we don't need to go undefeated, but like, I get the same way sometimes. But
I feel it. I feel it. Cam,
really-
Cam. Now
Hi.
you play in the mid league.
I do.
You play in the mid league. I want to wrap up. I want to wrap up light league real quick because I think we've talked about it enough. I think that we've done some good work on it, and I appreciate PonyGOAT stopping by. But I want to ask you, Cam, because you play in the mid league. I'm sure that you've played in some light league level matches in your time before. Maybe not light league in general, but you've seen some light league games. In your opinion, because you stay pretty active, what's the difference? What's the biggest thing that you can see or that you think of that is the difference between a light league player and a mid league player and a heavy league player? Other than rank.
Ooh. Other than rank. Okay, well, I was gonna say, because like
Objective control.
I'm one of the lowest ranked players in mid league. Like I am gold 3, which is a normal rank to play in light league. So like on my level, I'm on paper a light league player, right? But the rest of my team is like high plat. We have a couple D4s, so we are a pretty solid mid league team in terms of rank. So I don't consider rank, like we could talk about this more later, but I don't think rank has like as nearly big of an impact on these standings as some people like to think that they do. So just in between the different leagues, the biggest difference that I've seen is objective control being one of them, but vision has like the light league vision versus heavy league vision is night and day, especially when a team is ahead versus behind. Usually a team is only good at vision when they're ahead, and you can just see like the whole map is lit up with their vision, and then there's 0 wards of the enemy team. That is what like a light league team map looks like to me. And then heavy league, it's a lot more balanced. Usually it's not entirely covered in one color. Usually it's not even entirely covered at all. You only need 1 or 2 wards, especially on one side of the map. So vision, I would say, is actually number 1, and then just macro in general, which is a byproduct of vision, because it's a lot harder to macro when you don't know when the enemy team is. So when you know that where they are, then you can start working on objective control, on taking towers properly, on all of these other things that are just the byproduct of what I think is the number 1 reason.
There you
Yeah,
go. There you go.
I would say there's a lot of dead vision is what I like to call it in
Yeah.
light league. There's like
Useless wards.
there's like it's like dragons coming up, and then I see light league like it's like it doesn't matter. I can throw like a dart on a thing, and any of the supports will just start warding Baron, and I'm like, wait a minute. It's like, what do those wards do for you? I always look at like ward placement, and like dead vision is super prevalent in light league. I'd have to agree with Cam. As you get into mid league and heavy league, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, they only have 2 control wards, but that's all they need, right? Or they have 2 control wards, and then their trinket ward goes here. There's a flank ward here. Like it feels like they're just putting down vision that makes sense. Mid league also kind of has that problem where they'll have like dead vision. They'll throw like a random trinket ward into Tribush, and I'm like, oh, what is that even? Why do you need that in top lane when Dragon's coming up? It gets really weird. But yeah, I would have to agree with Cam on the mid league stuff. I don't know if you wanted me to answer the question on the biggest difference, Moose.
Oh no, I did. No, of course. No,
You're
I wanted
barred
to.
from answering the question. It's my question.
Yeah, it's your question. Only members of this chat with octopi heads can answer this question. No one else. No flamingo shirts can answer this question.
No flamingo shirts.
No flamingo shirts. All right. So I'm like,
You're actually not letting him answer.
oh, I thought you had answered. What?
No, I thought I'd
What?
answer too.
I was like, okay, go on, make it happen. I want to hear it all. But no, never mind. Enough of that. But yeah, Light League has been great. Light League has been great. Super excited to be part of it. I think that we've performed. At least me and Kendo as shoutcasters have gone along really well. Shout out to Kendo. He's the interview master. He's the one that has the questions. I make weird comments and I force my interviewed members into interesting scenarios where they have to try to figure out what I'm trying to get at, and they talk about whatever they want, which is cool too. I got to work on that. That's my room for improvement as an interviewer, is asking the right questions. Next week though, definitely guys want to come in on Tuesday. It's going to be another good matchup. As always, we got DAO, Obsidian, PonyGOAT, Ted Garcia, the rest of that lineup there, the Divine Ascension Obsidian up against the Central Sentinels. I don't know. I mean, maybe Central is the one that takes down you guys, PonyGOAT, but I'm feeling pretty confident on the 3-0 at this point.
Oh no.
It could
Why?
Be a trap
Why would
game.
you-
It
I
could
have
it could be a trap
feelings.
game.
I'm feeling that, and watch it not happen. This is my challenge for you. I'm giving you the curse, and now you got to roll with it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope I get to play in that game. I'm still not sure. I actually have workshops for class on those
Oh,
nights,
no.
and I'm just hoping that they end before I have to play.
Mm.
So we'll see. But I'm pretty confident. Look, I think we could 3-0 any team in the league. That being said, I don't think that we'll 3-0 every team in the league.
Mm.
But
So you
Diplomatic
think you can
answer.
3-0? So you think you can 3-0, but then you don't think you can 3-0. So really,
I know we could. I'm not
Hmm.
willing to bet that we will.
so you can kind of maybe sometimes not all the time 3-0 them.
If you feel like it on the day.
Yeah, if I was the caster, I would always go with 3-2 in a BO5 if that teaches you anything about who I am as a person.
Can't do that.
Maybe 3-1. Who knows? You're always only one game wrong.
Always one game wrong. Well, maybe this is the day. Maybe this is the week. Central Sentinels, prove me wrong.
I would
Give
tell
me
them that
the-
they sucked, but Void doesn't let me talk trash. I have to disable my emote button during games. I'm not allowed to use all chat.
Hmm.
I
Are
That's
you
am,
allowed to?
not-
Are you allowed to flash mastery though? I mean, if you do that, you probably
I'm
have
not
Ziggs.
supposed.
you have
I am
Ziggs
not supposed to
mastery.
do anything at all. Void keeps me in a little box and tells me not to say mean things.
You get
Yeah,
put
you're-
on Zigs. That's all you're
I-
allowed.
I do
Ziggs
my
cage.
job, and if I want to flame someone, I flame KGB. That's all I'm allowed to do. That's it.
Okay, well, we're gonna not take a look at chat. We'll let KGB talk about his jungle woes in chat. That's fine with me. KGB, how you doing, man? You're great in the jungle, that's for sure. But
He's okay.
he's all right. I mean, not the best. He could be better. I mean, he's not the best jungler in the Light League. But anyway, I think the only thing that we haven't talked about, and I feel like we all kind of like, we should talk about it maybe. PonyGOAT, you and Void, I think you're pretty smart. No flaming, no trolling,
Oh God.
no shenanigans in that regard. Degenerate's Ascension though, maybe not the same light, not the
What-
same feelings towards
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about.
What? I
talking about
didn't hear
the-
anything.
We're talking about the inspiration room biscuits, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Inspiration for biscuits. I like
Yeah.
I like biscuits, not biscuits. Biscuits.
Free my boy,
Biscuits are
Big
good.
Sis. That's all I gotta say. Free my boy. Like, free him up. It's almost
Frame
Wednesday.
up.
We're gonna have a
I-
party in chat when my boy is free.
I think the takeaway from that whole issue is that like not everything can get translated perfectly through a keyboard. I think everybody
Yeah?
needs to not.
That's what you took away from that?
That's what
Yeah,
I took away
I
from
think
that.
the
I just
absolutely.
translation came
That's
through.
not what I took
I
away
think
from.
the
Look.
translation. I think what
What?
he meant to say was said.
No. Time out. Hold on. I'm saying tone in the aspect like if those words were said at like a LAN, it's a really weird way to say it, but like if it was say like with a tone
In
and
person?
if you could imply it in person, it would probably be taken a little bit differently. I think what people need to realize, I guess, in these chats is like, yeah, you can banter, you can do all that, but you got to be sure that the other person or whoever it is like is for the banter, right? Because there are a lot of people in light league, mid league, heavy league, you name it, and other leagues as well, where they're like they just want to play League of Legends and they don't want to interact with people. And it's like when they get called out or when something happens in chat, it's just like, oh, wait, I didn't like sign up for this. Like I don't. We're not cool that way. And I think a lot of people in those kind of chats need to understand, like, yeah, banter with like KGB, you know, like because that guy can take it, obviously, according to PonyGOAT. Don't banter with like people that clearly don't want to banter, and like don't get mad when like your tone doesn't get perceived the right way, because you guys are on a keyboard, man. Like you guys are going 90 words per minute. Like how are you gonna, unless there's caps and there's uncaps and that's it.
Yeah.
And then you can like put ooh at the end, which is like, okay, fine.
Ooh, catch a W, PogG.
Haha, you're really bad, ooh, and that's like, oh, that guy's joking, I think.
Ooh, get it together, noob, with two zeros.
I
Yeah.
just call people ducks.
There.
Ducks?
You put duck at the end of a sentence, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Our
that's-
obligatory Bixus chat has now been concluded. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's been great. You said
talk.
You said it correctly. I mean, I agree 100%. Like, I'm so bad about not talking to people in the Light League chat. I promise that I'm trying to talk with people more. I'm trying to be communicative more in the chat, and I'll try to do what I can. I know I got to prepare for this rap at the end of the split, and I'm like trying to build up my material for it, and I'm working on it. Yeah, apparently I'm gonna rap, or I'm gonna try to rap. You know,
We're still deciding on this. This is still
I'm gonna see if I
under
can break my
decision.
headphones.
Gotta
before
give you
then.
the
Have to give
the gold
disclaimer.
bars. The gold bars all the time. All right.
Speaking of bars, segue in. We'll just
there you go.
transition in.
Thank God.
Speaking
Thank
of
God.
bars,
Save ourselves.
there is a team in mid league right now, and Camcom can agree with me. They are taking mid league by storm. They have bars. They have bars. Are you telling me? I honestly think, and who I want to talk about first, like we can get to the CB Rush guys. Yeah,
They're
when
not
the
important.
Mingos play, the Glacial Mingos, they're rising stars in my league, in mid league, right? And they are some of the wackiest people I've ever met. Like, I think their top laner has like a mullet, and he dances with tractors. Like, they make videos. It's insane. Like, and that's the train coming by. Hopefully you guys hear that. See, that is the Glacial
Beautiful.
Mingos hype train. That's the Glacial Mingos hype
Oh
train
my God.
that I counted on right there.
12 and 0 and we couldn't get your hype train. 12 and 0 and we couldn't get your hype train.
I'm sorry. I'm a mid league
That's
caster.
all right.
I know.
Okay.
He does.
That's That's all right.
No,
Where's
I'm
the
joking.
hype train? You casted us last week.
There was a hype train. There was a hype train, and then I saw your ADC on Ezreal, and there was no more hype train. I told you. I told General Town I'm gonna flame mid league today. I'm gonna flame mid league. Anyways, no. Really though. Glacial Mingos is one of those teams that hasn't competed really at all. I believe I interviewed one of them. I talked to one of their players, and they've only actually competed in one competitive league prior to XLNC mid league, which is really crazy because they're swinging with the big dogs, right? They don't play CB Rush till the last week, I believe, of XLNC mid league, but they've taken down Divine Ascension Emerald. I believe they're going to play Cape Dogs Valor this upcoming week, and they've taken down Bucky Stratosphere, which is like was a playoff team last season. Like they've been able to punch up so well that it's kind of a crime that they're tied for second at 6-3, because their MO is they go up 2-0 and then they'll just play whatever they want. Like they'll play full AD Scion top with Ryze jungle, and then they'll almost win that game. I think PonyGOAT was watching that game and he saw like what happened.
You know how dirty it is to have the team like Divine Ascension Gaming, have the team above you, like the guys that you know, coach you, who cheer for you, and to be slamming when do the Mingos play while they're getting destroyed? Like, do you know how wrong that feels to be doing? I'm not
Okay,
gonna say that we were doing it. I'm just putting it out there.
It's that was the thing though, right? Like they weren't supposed to, in theory, on paper or however you want to say it, they weren't supposed to beat Divine Ascension Emerald. Emerald probably one of the stronger teams in mid league right now. I would say right now mid league has a clear cut top three. Cam, it's CB Rush, Emerald, and then Mingos, and then you've got like a lot of teams vying for like 3 through 6 or 4 through 6. And that's your
If only there
team,
was a
that's Degenerate
5-way tie.
Exiles. Yeah, there's like a 5-way tie, and it's Cape Dogs, Buckies, Degenerates, Powerful and Killable Poros, and then you even have Unlucky Esports Axolotl like sniffing that area where they're just like right there. They're like, if they get 2 more wins, like they're in the tie as well. So yeah,
I'm so not happy with that sentence, by the way.
yeah,
Sniffing up
Sniffing.
into rank 6. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
yeah, sniffing up into rank 6. That's a quote right there.
Oh no.
Mid league, other than the Mingos, I think mid league has gone as expected, based off of what I've seen. Like CB Rush is 9-0. Like that's no surprise. Like Acid's a monster. Their mid lane's a monster. Like they are one of the teams that like when I say like I don't expect any team to beat them, I legitimately mean that. Like they are so good. Like they're the team that can play through any lane, any role, right? They even play for their jungler. Like their jungler's picking Rengar and going like 16-3. Like they're picking
Can we get a
Kha'Zix.
clip on no one's gonna beat CB Rush, please?
Yeah, no, you quote me
Why?
on it. Okay, if
What are you gonna
If-
use it for?
no, and I
Oh
mean,
my
I mean, if they beat them, like, does it? Okay, Camcom, is it one game or do they have to have a winning record against them? Like they have to go 1-2.
You have to
I'll
have a
du-
winning record.
Okay,
2-1.
okay. No one's gonna 2-1 CB Rush, and if anybody does, I'll also rap at the end of mid league.
Okay.
That's my take here. I don't think like CB Rush
take
is
it.
CB Rush is way too strong right now. Like if you look at their games, look at their data logs, and just look at like what they're playing. Their jungler's flexible, their mid lane's flexible, their top laner's a monster. Shoot, I saw their bot lane. They play like Tristana X anything, or they'll just play like Varus X this, and they'll just go like 12-0. Like CB Rush is a complete team in mid league, and then you have like Mingo's Emerald. I think week 9 is when I'm gonna have to like really clench, right? Where it's like Glacial Mingos versus CB Rush is week 9, and that's the only team I think that can really, really like try to get a winning record against them, like 2-0 or 2-1.
But I mean, like, look at I'm looking at CB Rush right now, and I'm like, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're dominant. Like, they've got what? Everybody that's on their top or like on their starting roster is like almost at or above a 40 on the XLNC ratings. Like,
Most important.
that's the most important thing. I don't care about anything else. The MVP rating is all that matters. Excellency rating, always 100%. And I mean, they look really strong. Like I've watched a little bit, but I haven't watched enough of mid league to know for sure who's my favorite. But
I could tell you.
Oh, who is it? Who is it, Cam?
Who could possibly be?
What? No way. I can't believe you thought that. No
I know it's
way.
pretty crazy, right?
That's a pocket pick right there.
We're sitting strong at 5th.
Hey, you know what? I mean, fifth place is still good enough for playoffs, but you want to make top 2. I know you can do it.
You didn't say that earlier.
Well, you know, I changed my mind.
Okay.
Well,
It's
I'm
not
not gonna
this.
say it. I'm not gonna say it. No. I think the thing with mid league is if you were to only look at CB Rush, it would really sway like your idea of what the league is. Because I didn't really talk about them, but DA Emerald is really good. Like Saturation's a good jungler, right? Peekaboo is a good ADC. Like these guys aren't bad. JDK is a solid mid laner. It's just that it's 1, and then there's like 2, 3, 4, and then there's like it's kind of like okay, well, like who's gonna play better this week? Who's gonna get their pocket pick this week in mid league? So those are like the top 3 teams. That's kind of what's happening in mid league right now. I think it's the more interesting thing to talk about in mid league is, as Camcom can talk about, is that 5-way tie. Like it is very, very competitive in that like 5-way tie, or I think it's a 5-way tie, right? Yeah.
It's 4 or 5 way. It's something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's Cape Dog's Valor, who has kind of been rising up lately, and then you have Powerful and Killable Poros, who I think started strong. Then it's kind of just like they've had a tough schedule here. They've played some strong teams.
Thank you.
I would say they've played some strong teams. The latter half of their schedule, I don't want to jinx them. Their latter half of their schedule is looking like they can make that like top 3 run.
That's what
Ideally,
I'm saying.
ideally you want to be top 2, right? In any of the XLNC ones because you get the bye. I think they can definitely break top 3. Powerful and Killable. I think Bucky's. I don't want to flame Bucky's, but they've kind of been like an underwhelming team for me, just based off of like the players on paper. Like I feel like Bucky's could easily take over Cape Dog's Valor's position. They can be 3rd or they can be 4th. But yeah, that like mid 4 to 5 way tie gets really, really weird because every team like Degenerates Exiles is in there, and you can't count people out like Fox Zero. These guys, and obviously Moose, you're very familiar with Degenerates Exiles. You're very familiar with their team, their players. These are good. These are good players. These are good players.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I think a good part about. I mean, not only. I mean, someone in the light league too. Like, I mean, every team, even some of the weaker teams in the light league, like they still have decent players on the team. Like, there's somebody that can make a case and say, hey, you know, I can help push this team into, you know, a 2-1 or a 3-0 set. And so, when I mean, Degenerates, for example, and again, like you're talking about all these teams in this like 6-7 or this 5-way tie, pretty much. Like you guys are all within a game of each other. Between ranks 3 and 8, like you guys are all like within 2 games of each other at this point. So like week 4, obviously that's going to be, I think, more of like when that tie gets broken, you're going to see a clear difference, a clear line being drawn in the sand between, you know, 4 and 5 and then 6 and 7. And I think if somehow the Powerful and Killable Poros are able to 3-0 on Lucky Esports this week, like that would definitely
last
put them.
week.
It was last week.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, they play
Am I, like-
CB Rush this week.
We
Am I
could have
running out the
3-0'd.
schedule?
That's for sure.
Am I missing the schedule?
We could go into what
My
we
bad.
can go what could have happened later. We can go on what could have happened later.
We could go into why the schedule is an updated day of later as well.
But my only thing was my only thing is like Glacial Mingos, Glacial Hindros, DA Emerald, like those 3 losses, at least for Glacial Mingos, like yeah, they're playing some entertaining compositions, and I'm okay with that. If you're confident that you're going to be able to make the playoffs, play something fun, play something that's out of the box, and get out of your comfort zone. Like, if you don't need the first round bye, then, I mean, don't try to go for it, but focus on improving yourself in these weeks. And if you drop a game, you drop a game, but you learn something from that game because you're able to say, hey, you know, this is where we messed up. This is what I did wrong. And now I'm coming into the playoffs a much better team because of it.
I'm scared that those games will bite them in the back, right? Where like, oh, if we didn't drop these 3 games, if we didn't go Rise Jungle or Lucent Jungle, you know, we would get the bye. Because Glacial Mingos, you know, they've gone on record to say they're like a really good regular season team, and then they just kind of like kaput in the playoffs. They told me like the last league they competed in, they dominated the normal season. They were top 2, and then I think they went out round 1 playoffs. So it's. Hopefully it doesn't happen again for them. I'm not trying to curse them or anything like that, but that's where you see like teams like Divine Ascension Emerald and CB Rush kind of shine in those best of 5 series, in those areas where you need to have a lot of comp flexibility, a lot of different prioritization in these kinds of games. It's like, oh, I'm going to play towards top lane this game, or I'm going to play towards bot. Because as you get lower into mid league, you start to decipher that, oh, this is their star player. Oh, this is the person that's going to carry. And it's like, you have these games in mid league. I think we have some of the longest game times where it's like it comes down to who gets caught first or whose star player gets caught first. That happened last week against Axolotl and Powerful and Killable Poros, where, POP's team, their best player or their carry player at the time at that game got caught and the game was over. And that's not just a POP thing. That is like a mid-league thing, unfortunately, once you go down to ranks 4 through 10, I would say.
That's actually like a super interesting metric there that you talked about, game time. Like, I'm looking at it right now, and it's like everybody except for CB Rush is hovering around the 30, 31 minute mark.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
CB Rush is at 26. Like, I mean, those are on average long games. You can't mess up. You can't mess up 26 minutes in and get picked, because then that could be it. You know,
That's a Baron. That's a Dragon Soul. That's your inhibitor, right? It's so crazy mid league. Like, they're fun to cast. Don't get me wrong. Me and Sulpan love it, but at the same time, like, we're sweating bullets. Like, Sulpan doesn't get to speak as the hype train comes by for Glacial Bingo. If you guys hear that, it gets really, really tense, and that's fine. That's fun and dandy. But I can't imagine, like, you said, PwnStarShibby, you said you have like anxiety issues and stuff. Mid league would just, like, I don't know, man. That you would be like clenching. It gets really, really tense.
Yeah, we played a lot against DAE, so I kind of get the hecticness, and Chris takes teleport when he plays against us, Chris being saturation. And I don't know if you guys have played against a jungler with teleport. You're gonna talk about anxiety, is taking a 2v2 fight bot lane and 3 TPs coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That is anxiety, my friend. We also got to play against Degenerates this weekend, Scrims, their plat team. So I don't know if I'm breaking news to you guys, but they were trying out ADCs. I don't know if that's news to anyone, but that was happening.
Tell us the scrims.
No, I've been
Sure,
seeing
yeah.
the roster changes. I've been seeing like the roster changes and stuff like that, but I don't know if it's. Yeah, you didn't leak anything. No leaks happened. I wouldn't say any leaks happened.
I
Yeah.
tried.
Don't leak the scrim results. 'Cause then you might not get scrims with them again. Maybe you don't want scrims with them. I don't know how they went. But no. Like I said, it gets really competitive at that 3-7, and that's just kind of been the tail of the league. And Moose, you did it. Like I said, you did a really good job of just highlighting long game times. Like, you can't make a mistake, and if you do, it's game over. Camcom was in one of those games, unfortunately, last week, where it's like, oh, we just got hit by like a thresh hook that went through 3 people, and it hit our Cassiopeia that was super fed, and that's game over. It's heartbreaking. It's hard for teams to bounce back, in my opinion, if that's not like the last game. If it's that first and second game, like a 3-game block, and your first game was down to the wire, second game's down to the wire, and you lose both of them, it gets really hard. But Camcom's team never gets 3-0'd. Which is really insane, actually.
True. We haven't had a 3-0 or 0-3 yet, and we're going to continue it this week against CB Rush. I don't care what you say. We're not continuing it, or we are continuing it.
Yeah. Cam, do you what are your thoughts on mid league? Have I nailed it on the head? Am I completely wrong? Am I just Shibby? You're an idiot. Actually, it's like this. Like, how you're in these games, right? You're in these games. Like, is that tension real? Is that like down to the wireness? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I think specifically our team I don't want to give away specific strategies, but you can take one look at game time. We have the longest game time of any game. We're a very late game centered team. So like every single one of our games, if we play to win cons correctly, they're going very late, and those are very stressful games. We have one of those basically in every single series. That was our game 2 last season, or last week on the stream. That was a very stressful game. It went to like 40 minutes or something ridiculous. Like, we commonly have those games like basically every single week in our scrims and our practices. That's almost like our comfort zone. It's like, it's a weird place where it's like the 30 to 40 minutes. Other teams don't get that much practice in that time range, and then us, it's like, well, we get to this like basically every time. This is our comfort zone. It's like the perks 1-2. Like, this is not supposed to be comfort, but it is. And then past 40 minutes, it's just full mayhem. It's full silver league. Like, what are we doing? Team fight every 5 minutes. There's a dragon. There's a baron. There's 3 barons taken now. It's like, what are we doing? But overall mid league, yeah, I think you hit it pretty well. It's the original going in thinking of it was CB Rush first, and then it's going to be a race for second place. That was also how it was before playoffs, like week 7 to 9 last season as well. It was pretty clear CB Rush was first place, and then everyone was fighting for second. And then all of a sudden, there was a 3-way tie for second, and it came down to tiebreakers that were from week 2 and week 3. Like, Death Cards made second place from a tiebreaker they had in week 3. That is how like important these games are, and you don't realize that until it's a tiebreaker week 9. Who makes this second seed? Those are like the big tiebreaker numbers, and then that's where it's like Glacial Mingo's. Yes, you win the tiebreaker, but you're down in games. That's in my brain compared to LCS. They're kind of like the Dignitas, like you were saying. They're really good. I'm not denying they're really good in normal season, and then playoffs hits, and it's like now it's a best of 5. Our team has not practiced a game 3 yet.
Yeah,
You-
yeah. Well,
you
they
practice, you play how you practice, right? If you haven't done a game 3 taken seriously yet, then how are you going to play in a game 5? That's what I worry about for them more specifically. And then for us, like we're constantly in that worry zone of we're not in playoffs right now. It's a huge tie for 5th. It's all up to these last few games, and we've lost a lot of tiebreakers. Our only tiebreaker that we have won right now is against Degenerates, and they're currently sitting at 9th. So if it continues like that, we don't need a tiebreaker against them. We're going to need them in the next few weeks against these other also hard teams like CB Rush.
Yeah, it feels like mid league's gonna come down to like my fate is in another team's hand, and that's
Yes.
that's just gonna happen for like a lot of teams. Where it's like, okay, well, we need this team to win, we need this team to win, we need these guys to lose. We actually need to take one game here, and it just gets really, really hectic. Other than the top, but I can pretty much, yeah, I think we've wrapped up mid league in a nice little present for you guys. I mean, I've got a lot of issues with champion picks across all the leagues. I'm a Trundle hater, but we'll talk about that like a lot later after we get into heavy league, because heavy league we only had 1 week, but I really want to talk. Yeah,
I want to ask one question though. I want to ask one question to you guys just real quick because I'm looking at numbers. I'm a numbers guy, you know. I'm a numbers guy. I like to analyze. I'm a history degree in college and using it actively during this podcast now. What I'm noticing, just something that I'm kind of like looking at is I'm looking at some of these like late game stats. I'm looking at, you know, total towers, total inhibs, total barons made by mid league teams. And it feels like, I don't know, like I'm seeing a lot of these teams, like they have very low inhibs per game, very low baron counts for the long, you know, these long games that we're supposed to be having. Like, what's your guys' I want to like talk about kind of like the end game and the late games in these mid league fights, because I don't know, it's like it seems like maybe that's an issue that could be resolved to be able to close out games in the mid league.
Did you want to go first, Cam, or I can go? And
I mean, that's another byproduct of the poor vision, right? It's like, first of all, I just want to talk about the XLNC rating. Like, supports and top laners don't get XLNC rating. I don't know what it is. Where are we? I'm at 20. Why am I at 20? How did that happen?
Spoken by a player on a losing team. The ratings never matter to the losing teams. They don't. The rating means nothing if you're 0-12. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. No other opinion. Just it's not even my opinion. I'm just saying. Like,
we do have one support in the XLNC MVP, but I get what you're saying. We only have one top laner as well, Cam. I definitely agree with
My
that.
top laner should be up there. You saw him last week. He's so good.
I
top
only
laners are
saw.
overrated.
That is a
1v5
pony goat.
on
That is a
Aurelia,
pony
by the
goat.
way.
That is a pony goat. That is a pony goat endorsed statement. Excellency does not.
I said that.
Excellency does not support that statement. All lanes are equal. All roles are equally important in Excellency.
Support's the best.
I'm sorry. I guess we could try to answer the whole question. I think the inhib thing, specifically on the inhib thing, what happens is, Moose, is you get these teams where they're just clashing. They're fighting over objectives. Right. They're trying to, you know, vie for positioning. And these teams have like decent objective control. Like they'll make you pay for walking in. It's almost akin to trying to play footsies and fighting games. If you guys, you know, play fighting games at all, it's okay. If you're going to walk through this choke, we're going to throw Ziggs E at you. We're going to throw all these spells at you. And you either take your tank and walk him forward and he loses a quarter of his health or half of his health, or, you know, your tank's oblivious and they engage and then they just like snap engage. And then that's why the inhibitors are so low, because once that engage happens, once death timers are 30, 40 seconds, that's the game winning push right there, right? That's the game ending push. Because at those objective timers, you'll either have your laners, it's one of two options. They either have their TPs and they're splitting, or they don't have don't have their TPs and they're at the objective right already. And usually what happens is when one team gets wiped or one team gets near wiped, the team that still saved their TP, that where the guy split push and he had enough time to walk down, didn't have to TP because the other team wasn't decisive enough, they just TP onto the lane that was getting pushed, and now that's the game-ending push, and then they just win. And then that's why you have like 2 inhibitors taken. That's why you have like 3 towers or like, really low tower count, because like usually they'll just be able to game-end push at 35 minutes or like at 30 minutes, and it's like, okay, well, we only really needed to go through one lane. It's not like a surgical. I would say XLNC is not a surgical team or a surgical league. Sorry, they're not a surgical. They're not a surgical league. They're not picking you apart. They're not splitting you left and right. They're not taking an inhib here, a tower there. It's just one way. they're a construction site. Their mid league is a construction site, not a surgical, not a surgeon. I would say.
Yeah, I think you said it very well there. It's a byproduct of so many other problems, being that the vision and the very long game time, like you said. Once it's get to the 30-minute mark, inhibs stay down for 5 minutes, right? So if you take it at 30 minutes, that inhibitor is going to be down for what could very well be an Elder Dragon push, a Baron push, both of them being pushed. So that one inhibitor could be the only inhibitor that you need to take all game. The only way it gets to even more is when it's these back and forth series. And somehow, I don't know how this is possible, but multiple teams, I just looked at this too. Multiple teams have 3 inhibitors taken total, or 4 inhibitors taken total throughout all of the games. That's crazy to me. How does that happen? It has to just be just like you're saying, the one push ends the game. You don't need more inhibitors, or it's just like you apparently don't need an inhibitor to win the game. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, that's mid league's model. Why need more inhibitor? One inhib do job. Like that's what it is, really. One inhib do job fine. We just need to kill Nexus. And
I'm just gonna start 3 inhibiting people to get the inhibitor score up. Like honestly,
do it. You won't. Do it. You won't.
Just to go TP support, like go Rift or not Rift Maker.
I'm already doing that. What?
Yeah. Go that item that split pushes. I forgot it.
Hole breaker.
Hole breaker. Yeah, go the hole breaker
in the game. Yes.
Go hole break. Yeah, go hole breaker support and just get the inhibs, because I don't know. It's not that no team plays the map well. It's just everybody below CB Rush just plays it abysmal.
I think my experience is like in light league, I don't know so much about mid league, but we're really not playing for like the 4-1 the whole game and pray that we can get these side lane inhibs down. We are playing like, hey man, go push that wave out so that we don't lose all our turrets. But we're gonna TP in 5v5 for this Baron, and whoever loses the game. And that's how that's gonna go, because like what they aren't really amazing side lane champs. We're not great at it. We're low elo. It's a lot of work. Like, not to say we can't do it. Not to say we can't 3 inhib you. But when we played Degens, the plat team this week in scrims, the biggest thing wasn't that we sucked in lane. It was we got out and we were like, oh man, what do we do? Like, these guys actually punish us for like the mistakes that we make. They know how to catch our waves. They know what we're gonna do.
What?
Yeah.
No,
Do that
Pony.
again. Give it to me again. One more time. One more time.
I don't think I can repeat it. I even did. I'm like,
Come on, Moose.
No.
Gotta go around. Yeah, there you go. Get it together. What are you doing?
I just think we're more of like team fight teams than anything. Like, is there a team who you're like, yeah, that's our top lane win con. We're gonna send him to the side lane, and if you don't find a way to stop it, you lose.
No, Pony.
I thought DAO was the top lane carry. Ted Garcia. What?
Yeah, Ted just shows up to mid lane and kills the enemy team. He's not like a split pusher. He's like, I'm gonna 1v9 everyone, and it has to be a 5v5 to do that.
The issue you have is that in mid league, they're picking champions in the top lane that are meant to split and create side lane pressure. I don't know who it is on these mid league teams. I don't know which captains it is that is calling their 3-1 top laner, their Irelia possibly, into these team fights. And I'm just like, wait.
So directed at someone. I couldn't imagine who.
No, it's not just you guys. It's I'll see a Jax and it's like, that Jax is 4-1. Why is he coming up? Why is he coming for drag? It's literally second Cloud Drake. Like, just let him split. Let him get 5 waves. Let him 2v1. Yeah, let him end the game. It's like mid-league picks split champions, and then they don't split.
It's
I'm
so
just like-
hard. It's so
I
much
get it.
work. It is. Like, think
Yeah.
about it. You have to basically fight for control of like an entire quadrant of the map and cover this guy and do other things all at the same time. It's
Then
like
just pick Malphite, man. If you don't want, don't give me
I'm
Camille.
not putting Jack
Jack.
Garcia on Malphite. I'm just gonna scream at Teddy to come help us win a 5v5 mid.
Yeah, it's like Irelia. No, look. These are the stuff I've been seeing in mid league. It's Irelia, Jax, Camille. I've been seeing like Viego flex there, but it's a lot of like, okay, we have a strong top side 1v1er who can get side pressure, who can win side post 6, and it's like they get 3 items, and it's like they have their mythic, they have the Divine Sunderer, they have the whatever, the Bork and everything like that. And then they're just grouping into Dragon, and I'm like, wait a minute. That's not their win condition. Wait a minute. They would have gotten a tower for free if they just danced that Dragon. That's mid-league, man. Pick split champions, but team fight with them. It's like, you wonder why there's people picking Malphite taking games off of people. I'm sorry, that's my rant for mid-league.
Thank you for flaming my top laner's insane Malphite, by the way.
Insane Malphite.
He
You
made
guys
the
won
cannon-
that game. You
Yes,
guys
he
won
made
that game.
I have to tell you a story about that game 3, right? Their coach was in the chat, right? In the client chat. When we locked in the R5 Malphite, he asked, "Is that actually your guys' pick?" It's like, "Oh, you want to play that card on us? Okay, we'll make your top laner go 0-10 in an apparently counter matchup, which apparently Kennen is supposed to counter Malphite, but then he went 0-10 into an AP. I don't know how that works, but don't flame my Malphite. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it was a full AP Malphite, wasn't it? That was also, if I remember correctly.
Yes, of
Um,
course.
Did you see
Especially
Bleeding
not a
Wolf stomp
Malphite.
pitch?
Especially not a Malphite that's playing for the side lane, but actually is a Team 5 Malphite in disguise, ready to go for the 5-man ultimate pentakill, unstoppable force. Everything gets destroyed. That's the play. Naturally. I can't believe that pup isn't second place right now.
It's true. I can't believe it either.
Oh,
I'm on
Get
it.
it
down to
together.
the wire games. Down to the wire games, man. Like literally, it's a
Oh,
coin
man.
flip. It's a coin flip. Like if something else lands for Pup, they're probably second. Like real talk. If like half of these teams, if one ability lands differently, they're like second or third. It's kind of crazy. But transitioning again to Heavy League. I have
Wow,
no
that
segue
was so
here.
smooth. Oh my
I have
gosh.
I have no. The
I've
only
got my
the
purple
only,
theme going on, man. Like I'm so ready.
yeah. Week 1/2, 2.5, 1.5. You have like 5 games buys. There's a lot of wackiness going on. Can you just break it down for us real quick?
Yeah, Heavy League, we started late with less teams. We had a team unfortunately unregistered day before week 1 happened, as well as their top laner was called into army service. So very understandable reason. We're not blaming them whatsoever, but they did unregister. So we are stuck at 7 teams still. And week 1, we have a bye. Week 2, we have a bye. So that's 2 teams already that have only played 3 games each. And then we've had reschedules happen that have happened after games later on. So like we had a week 1 match happen after their week 2 match, which is like just throws standings off so weirdly. Like now it's a little bit more balanced, but still like on the standings that you see on the left there, I put in 3 O's for the buys, whereas on the standings on data logs, it doesn't have 3 O's for buys right now. So the ones on data logs look really weird because a lot of people still only have 1 match played, which makes it really hard to like kind of have analysis because of course you don't know who's the top team, who's the bottom team. Like you can assume that Lotus is going to be on a top 3 team because they played so well last season. They took 2 games in finals and they got reverse swept in the finals. So very good team that they are. It's hard to tell with these new teams. We have 2 AoE teams currently, Hope and Unleashed. They're currently 4th and 5th. Again, they are supposed to have their match on week 2 last week. It was rescheduled and has not yet been played. Another one of those games that just makes them have only 3 games in the book right now. So stats wise, it's very all over the place. It's like after week 1 of late league, right? It's like you have, or week 2, I should say, of week 1 of mid league, because CB Rush 3-0, top of the stats. Pup, we were top of the stats of everything. Animal was like somehow Animal, my top laner, was like 1st or 2nd in basically every single stat, and now I search for him and he's only on 2. Makes me so sad. But like, yeah, it's hard to have analysis right now or any sort of prediction because teams could look really good in week 1 and then they're versing what turns out to be a 7th place team later on, and it's like, well, we don't know that right now. It's all just a guessing game. Yes, the only returning team we have is Lotus. Death Cards has the same org as Death Cards from mid-league last split, but they're not the same roster whatsoever. We almost had a mid-league, that the team that had they were gonna play in heavy league and then unfortunately had to leave. They were a returning mid league moving up to heavy. That would have been very exciting. It's just, again, unfortunate that they're not able to actually play it out. So it would have been interesting to see how they measured up because they did play very well last split in mid. It's just unfortunate. So heavy league, that's about it. Is Death Cards. I have high hopes for Death Cards. I think Death Cards versus Lotus is going to be a very exciting match. I also think AoE versus AoE is going to be a very exciting match. And then MG and 4 Monkeys 1 Coach, by the way, very good name. I very much like the name, but they're kind of like the wild card teams, right? They're both very new teams, not only to XLNC but to each other. I think both of them have only been around for like 1 or 2 months each, so they're very new. They're very wild card. We don't know where they're going to land. It could be a top team, it could be a bottom team. Currently, they are both sitting at the bottom, but that's just because they versed against AoE, Death Cards, and Lotus. Like those. Pretty sure those are going to be top 3 unless something absolutely crazy happens in the next few weeks. I do believe it is still top 6 making it for playoffs. So out of 7 teams, only 1 team is not going to make it. It's going to suck forever who's that 1 team, but it's like, dang.
Don't be bad.
We had a 6 out of 7 chance of making it and we didn't make it. But yeah, it hopefully hopefully that 7th place spot doesn't come down to a tiebreaker. If that comes down to a tiebreaker, that is going to be a very unfortunate tiebreaker. But yeah, that is about how much information we have. It's basically like how it was after week 1 or week 2 of lighter mid, where it's like, we don't know where teams place yet. We're still waiting. Now we're in week 4, week 5. We know a little bit more. Like maybe CB Rush is still up top. Maybe DAO is still up top, and maybe not. We don't know yet. We're still early on in the season. You're much later.
Yeah. I guess we maybe talk about like heavy league players or the match that happened like on stream. Was that like a good match? I caught some of it. Well, while I can, but I mean, you were obviously casting, or you were watching it. You were there.
Yeah.
How did that pan out? Was that up to expectations for you on that matchup, or what? Was it a stomp? I couldn't really catch all of it.
Week 1, we had AoE Hope versus 4 Monkeys 1 Coach on show match week. That one was pretty sided towards AoE. 4 Monkeys had a little bit in their favor, where if they got a lead, they knew how to push the lead, and then it would come down to 1 Baron, 1 Elder, or whatever, 1 Soul fight, and that would just completely end the game, which is, funnily enough, very similar to mid or light, right? It gets there in a very different way. It's like the same exact outcome, right? Like you still lose the game from 1 Baron or 1 Elder, but there's so much more vision. There's way less team fighting, but it's still a 3-0 in favor of AoE when it looked like 4 Monkeys was much better than an 0-3 team to AoE. And then it was very much the same story in week 2, was Lotus versus MG Infusion. MG Infusion, that wildcard team, so was 4 Monkeys 1 Coach. So it was nice to see both of them in the early weeks, so that we get a little bit more of an idea how they start out, so that we can see how they progress later on into the season. So we get, like, as my teachers would call in school, like the diagnostic of how they play, right? This is probably one of the first matches that they've played in a real tournament like this. So now they know where they can start. Now they can go and learn. And they had their hard. Man, Lotus is a really hard team to face in your second week. That would be very hard, especially for MG Infusion when you are such a new team. So not taking a game off of them is unfortunate. They definitely are not completely out, though. They did play very well. It just did also usually come down to maybe one big macro mistake. It would be like a random 5v5 up top, I think was like game 2's reason for loss. And then it would just be one crazy snowball champion would get out of control.
Go for it. Go for it.
I'll go. I'm gonna go. What I'm noticing that's, I think, really, I mean, again, akin to having, higher ranked players, higher rated players. in the heavy league is when you're looking at a lot of these games when players and teams win, like KDAs are one, lower, or at least deaths are, for the winning team at least, feels like a lot lower. Yeah, there are a couple of games where it is a little bit more, it's a little bit more of a slugfest. You've got, 6, 7, 8 deaths. But I mean, for the most part, like when a team wins, like it's a very low KDA, very low interaction, much more. It seems much more focused on having good CS, having good map control, and making sure that you're making those right macro decisions that give you the control that you need to be able to get into that mid game, to be able to get into the win. I mean, team history or team stats, looking at that, like these games are I mean, at least we've only had a couple of games played. We've only had a couple of games played, but I mean, these games are on average, again, shorter. They're shorter than games in light league. They're shorter than games in mid league, and that I think something is to attest to a lot of these players' skills. And so whenever you get to see those higher skilled level players all come all together against each other, it's really fun to watch.
I think it's just when I look at Heavy and when I was watching the streamed games, it feels like the teams are more controlled, right? It's like Team A or Team A and Team B or Team 1 and Team 2, they each have like their win conditions and they're very set on trying to execute them. Whereas like in light league and mid league, teams will draft towards win conditions. They'll draft strong stuff, but then like randomly someone that they weren't expecting to get fed gets really fed, right? And it's like, well, okay, well, we got to switch our game plan up. Where it's like heavy league, it's like you said, the laning, the focus on macro, the vision, that all compiles into an effect of like, okay, well, this is our win condition. We have to poke here. We have to contest this objective. We have to contest third drag, this choke, yada yada yada. And then the other team's like, okay, well, we got to contest heavy topside river control. We have to get their red side jungle. Our goal is to invade their jungle and take away a quadrant of their map. And that's why I think we see the shorter game times, because if one team is just really able to execute on their game plan, they'll just, like Camcom said, push it. They'll be able to go pedal to the metal. They know what to do with 1,000 gold lead. They know what to do with the 1,500 gold lead. Whereas mid and light, a 1,000, 1,500 gold league, it's essentially even. It's even, right?
I can tell you right now that if I'm ever in a game and I have a 1,500 gold lead, I have no idea that I have a 1,500 gold lead. I don't know that. I can't math that out.
Yeah, well, heavy teams are mathing it through items, right? They're like, okay, well, I have my mythic before this guy. This guy's not gonna have his mythic. We denied this many waves. I don't know how much brain power is going into heavy. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, it just feels more controlled. I don't want to say slow because that makes it seem like they're like it's not exciting. It's exciting in like a more cerebral way. Heavy league is where it's like, wow, you can really see these teams. They have a game set plan and they're willing to just go in on that and execute around it as well as they can, given the conditions.
Pony, have you played against any heavy league players, heavy league teams, anything?
No, I asked Void to not make me scrim against DAE as much as possible for my mental sake. Every time he tells me that we have no other scrim and we're scrimming them, I tell him to find a sub ADC. So if he ever rocks up with a heavy league team, I might just like altogether turn my PC off and go outside and like touch grass for like a year.
Nice.
That's a good plan.
Yeah,
Strat.
it's my strategy actually.
10 out of 10 strat. That's the turn off PC win right there.
I think a lot of the reason why heavy league probably has like a lot like slow or more controlled play. If I was in that elo playing with teams that are that good, I would have so much respect for the other player that I would be scared to do anything. In my team, probably just lack the respect for players that are at the same level as us to like not make a mistake. And so we're just going to throw our faces at it. And 9 times out of 10, or maybe 6 times out of 10, they're going to make that mistake and we won't get as punished as hard as that we could. But in heavy league, I'm not going to like flash forward knowing that I'm about to get Caitlyn EW'd and she's going to flash heal and army. And it's like, I don't expect to get outplayed real hard in light league. It still happens, but like, Heavy League, you're gonna get outplayed if you do something stupid. I have no doubt.
Yeah, I would say mid league's kind of like that, where you have people limit testing for sure, and it's just a lack of getting punished. I mean, it's really interesting that you say that because, like you said, you scrim the mid league team, and you're like, I'm getting punished for stuff that I'd never gotten punished for, and it's like, it's a very awakening feeling. Everybody's had that feeling. Anybody that plays solo queue, I'm a jungle main, and I've gone against Smurfs, and it's like, you don't know what you're doing wrong until you review it, and it's like, well, I never get punished for taking my golems off of like a off 20 seconds, right? Like, where if it's like you come to a camp late, you go against other people like that, they take your camps on cooldown. Like, they don't mess around, right? Or I guess for bot lane, for PonyGOAT, it would be like, if you're not managing your wave right, you just don't touch CS for like 3 to 5 minutes sometimes. It's like their support is zoning you. You don't get to lane, and that's kind of just how that feeling is. I bet in heavy league, if they're like scrimming people, or if you do like a very detrimental mistake like flashing forward, like you don't get to play the game. You're out of it for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, I can kind of leak our scrims because I don't think they'll be mad at us for doing it. So the
Ooh.
first game, we won't talk about comps or anything. I'll just kind of tell you how they went. Just like kind of build on the point that you never really get punished until you get punished, right? This first game, we win the early game and probably have that like 1,500, 2,000, maybe even 3,000 gold lead. And absolutely, like the gold graph looks like up for us, and then a massive dip back to even at like 25 minutes, and we like just throw our faces at them just enough to barely beat them. The second game was the fastest speedrun int of our entire careers. I'm pretty sure all of us were 07 in 20 minutes, and they beat the living brakes off of us. And then in the third game, we got another small lead, and I think they realized from the first game that we are not very good at the game. And so they just kind of like held the line, and our like 2,000 gold lead turned into like probably an 8K deficit in like probably like 6 or 7 minutes. It is crazy how when a team is like this much better than you, I mean, they're just plat players, right? They were not incredibly better than us. They are better than us, but not crazy. Can just punish you so hard and beat the brakes off you compared to the teams at your skill level out of nowhere.
I like that. The classic, they're just better than us. like that's it's just that just is what it is. The ultimate download from the better team. Hey, we know we're better than them, so let's play like we're better than them. Why not?
We felt like we had better hands. I mean, we came out of learning phase twice with like gold leads against a team that is supposed to be better than us. And then they just showed us that they had brains and weren't monkeys. And we were, in comparison, at least, more monkey than those monkeys.
Monkey, less coach.
More monkey.
More monkey, less
We actually
coach.
had 5 monkeys. We did not get a coach. Yeah.
Pony,
yeah,
that's
coach is something we don't have either. Don't worry.
I don't know. It was really weird because one of the games I think I was casting, their coach came into the spectator, and I had to like confirm with XLNC. I was like,
yeah.
"Hey, is their coach allowed? Like, can they be in the spectator with us?" Like, I didn't think it was a big issue. I just wanted to make sure. But that's neither here nor there. Pony, it's really interesting that you bring up the fact of like rank, and you say that, oh, these guys are plat. They're not that much better than us, because obviously that's something that like me, Cam, Moose, we all wanted to talk about, like in terms of, you know, the ranks of the players and just kind of like trying to shadow box them, because I'm going to be the first to admit I'm somebody that does that a lot, where I'll look at their OPGGs, I'll get them, I'll say, okay, these guys are plat, these guys are gold. There's a huge skill discrepancy from their jungler to their jungler. I expect a jungle gap. Like, I'll write pre-show notes or offline notes with Sulpan, and we'll discuss it. We'll talk about it. But I kind of want to get your take first, Pony. Like, how important do you think the solo queue rank is in light and obviously beyond? But do you think that, you know, when you see a team that has slightly better players, or if they're like gold 3 to gold 1, like, does solo queue rank really affect it that much? Or is it just we're better as a team, we're better as a unit, cohesive is more important, team comp is more important? Where do you kind of fall on the importance of solo queue rank in these amateur leagues?
I don't think we value it that high. It always feels like it matters more when you're the higher ranked player. It's always going to feel like that, like we're so much better. And we did that last week, I think, when we were playing, whoever we were playing. I'm sorry. And our game one was literally like, oh my god, we're about to get beat by these guys. Like, who are these guys? And then we turned it on them real quick and didn't let them come back. But
Zenigma Eclipse for you, week 4.
yeah, so it always is just like in my head. It's when you're looking at a difference in gold to plat, and this is so generalized that I'm sure it varies for like everyone and different players. There's not really a massive difference in hands. There's not like a huge difference in your ability to lane. There can be, and again, like varies player to player. Like maybe lane is your really big weakness, but from what I have felt and how our lanes played against DAE and how they play against Zen or not Zen, Degenerate Splat team, we never really fall behind in lane, except for that one game where we got absolutely blasted, but that was KGB's fault, I think. But it's more of like as a team, we don't know the macro side of the game, and so once you get us out there and like we have to play around vision and knowing where people are going and making the right trades and always knowing the timers and always being ready and never getting picked and playing to our strong side, it's just becomes so much for our little gold brains to think about that we can't do it with only 1,500 gold against a team who is better at it than us. So I don't. TLDR, hands good, perfectly fine, brain slow. That's it. That's my take.
Moose, what is your take on this? What is your? We'll go around. We'll go from light, mid to heavy. So Cam will have the last opinion on it. I think that's how we should do it. So Moose, what is your solo queue thing?
My solo queue, my OPGG opinion is because, obviously I'm peaking. Like, I'm like, ooh, where's everyone at going into the leagues? Like, are they gold 1? Are they silver? Are they whatever? And I mean, at least for me, like, I know as a silver player, I know the difference between me being the silver player and a gold jungler and then a plat jungler. Like, I feel like there is a obvious difference in where that is. Like, I think the league system, albeit it has flaws, it's not perfect. It does have a pretty good representation. I would say, it's pretty consistent with where you're at as a player. I agree with that. I think that's right. But I also, like, with that being said, on that premise, we look at the big example that I have of a team being just so good at being able to have that elo advantage, basically, is the team that came in week 4. So Team Ambition Golden Age has all 5 of their members above, gold 3. They have a lot of games played in that elo. They've played a lot of experience. They have a lot of, time played in the gold, low platinum level. And they come into their first week of the season, of the split, and they take on Lotus Black, the defending champions, who still have a pretty solid squad, and they won 2 of them, or they 2-1 them. So, I mean, like, having those players in that higher elo, like if you're able to have, up to gold 1, have a plat 4 player in your team, like, that's obviously an advantage. And I think that it shows moving into it, at least in the light league. Now, that also being said, there's also other factors that go into that. Just because you're gold, if you're a gold player with 100 games, I'm going to trust your ability less than a gold player that has 1,000 games. The more experience you have makes you a wiser player, makes you a better player.
Would you say that some roles that skill gap is emphasized more? Because I can definitely connect with you on the jungle thing.
Yeah.
Just
big on the,
go.
Big on the jungle and big on the top lane. I think it's kind of a little muddied in the mid lane and the bottom lane a little bit. Like, a better ADC could get a better CS advantage, and yes, you can get the outplay. But if you're just bad in the top lane, you go against a really good top laner, you can just break any chance that your team has of winning the game.
Yeah, the muddiness. I think the muddiness in the bot lane just comes from it's a dual person lane. Because more often than not, like in the bot lane, even in your solo queue games, it's very rare that both you and your support, or both you and your ADC, whatever role you're playing, are just objectively better than the other team, like other bot lane. Like sometimes you'll have, like you said, a better ADC, but your support is worse. And obviously matchup is really, really wonky because it's not a 1v1 matchup. It's a 2v2, and it's how your support interacts with their ADC and how your ADC interacts with their ADC and what tactics you can do and how variable it is. And that's where it kind of gets muddied because matchup knowledge becomes really, really more advanced, right? Mid lane's weird because you have champions in mid lane that can just negate laning phase, right? You have Malzahar,
Right.
you have like
Seraphine.
Seraphine. You have all these Karma mid. You have all these like champ Zillion, right? I mean, when I get autofilled mid in my plat games, I play Zillion and I'm useful, man. I'm super useful. Like I double bomb, I revive you, you speed you up, and you go win me the game, brother. Like that's what happens, and you can kind of negate like immense pressure. I would say, yeah, for sure. Well, I kind of wanted to Moose. How much do you rely? I would say as a caster, do you rely on that like OPGG scan, right? Like do you try your best to try to stay away from like making predictions off of that, or are you like kind of in it where you're like, okay, well, I can expect a jungle mismatch, and if these things happen, if this guy gets his champion, then maybe he can compete with him. Like how does your brain work with that sense?
So week 1, week 2, definitely looking at op.gg. Like I don't have any data to go off of in the light league yet at that point because there's none available. So I'm definitely checking op.gg, and you can see a difference in the skill between, one top laner and another top laner. And okay, yeah, you can kind of make sense. Like, hey, this top laner who has gotten 3 kills in all of his top lane in the first 3 games in top lane coming into week 2 is going up against a top laner that had 12 kills. Like, it definitely favors the player with 12 kills because also, looking at op.gg, looking at that, like he has more experience, he has more ability, like he looks like he has better KDA, he just looks better. But now moving in like week 3, week 4, and especially now week 5, I'm at the most looking at the games that they have played prior in the league. I'm not taking into account anything that I see on op.gg. I don't want to. Like, what you do outside of this light league is irrelevant. You need to perform well in your game in the light league so that you can win. And so you can get into the playoffs, so you can get into the big games, so you can get the championship, and you can get to the championship and win. So you got to be able to perform well when it matters most. And so, and even then, like, you can't go into, there's always a grain of salt. Like, hey, yeah, this looks really good. And for narrative's sake, I might have information about every player. And I might say, hey, this mid laner likes to play a lot of these control mages and, has 4 games played with Orianna in the light league already. And I might have that as a talking point. But if you go 0-12 in the game that I'm casting for you, you're going 0-12. Like, get it together. Like, this was a game that you needed to win and you lost. So it's a bit of 50-50. Like, I still want to be able to give some availability for anything can happen, but I'm not going to be embarrassed, or I'm not going to be like surprised if the better mid laner does really well,
Yeah, I would have to agree on that. Like, it's OPGs are nice for building narrative. Like that's like, and I think a lot of people, a lot of the players that watch the games or they VOD review and they hear us talk about you guys, it's like, well, I'm actually only like 2 leagues lower. This guy's only plat 2. I'm plat 4. It's like, yeah, but you're plat 4, 500 games, and this guy's plat 2, 200 games. So it's like, wait a minute, this guy. And then you look at their last season. It's like CB Rush's team on paper, they have 4 plat players and 1 diamond player, right? But 3 of their members hit diamond last season. You look at right now, I think the bottom ranked team, GCG Legion, they have a diamond player. They have all their players are plat except for 1. I think Adderall is gold, right? And it's like, yeah, you can say, well, they have a diamond player, they should be higher ranked, but it's really only good for narrative building, right? I'm not embarrassed when I say something like, oh, I think CB Rush's jungler has the advantage here because of the mismatch, right? And I'm saying that week 1, I'm saying that week 2, like you said. And when it comes to fruition, I'm not going to say, like, I'm not a sage. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm like, see, I got the prediction right. It's just, it's as expected. And when it's something unexpected happens, I go back and I say, okay, well, why did this happen? Oh, this guy that was lower ranked, quote unquote, got his champion. Oh, his top laner put a lot of pressure. Oh, there's other factors. So ranks to me are they get juicier when the lower ranked team wins, because that's when you can extrapolate. That's when you can really go back and see why. But when a higher ranked player wins, you look at what they did, and it's like, oh, this was the correct play. This was the correct answer. This was the correct answer. And it's harder to dive deep into why they won.
Right.
At least that's for me.
Fair enough. All right, we've given Cam plenty of time to think about
Oh,
what she
boy.
thinks, and now to come in and give us the home run. What do you think, Cam?
I have the opposite opinion of all of you.
Oh my god!
Surprise!
Last season mid-league casting, I looked at op.gg's a grand total of 0 times. Not once, never. Maybe at the beginning to see champion pools, but even then, it's like once you start getting games in competitive, that's what I'm looking at, because one of my favorite coaches told me solo queue and competitive games are 2 entirely different games. They should not be compared whatsoever. Your solo queue rank should not have any presence or like any sort of meaning in your competitive games, right? It doesn't really correlate like at all. 5v5s are so different to what it's a 5v5, right? But it's individual 5v5 instead of group 5v5. It's kind of like how you do a project. This is the analogy he told me, right? It's doing a project solo versus doing a project with 5 other people. You're gonna do that project very differently in between individual or solo, right? So I take that like very wholeheartedly. I play solo queue very different to competitive. Like I build full AP Morgana every game solo queue. You Leandre's first rush every single time. I would never do that in competitive. That would be so troll. I'm gonna hit Leandre's at 30 minutes in competitive. That would just not happen. So solo queue games, they're important, more important as a caster than, or no, I meant to say that as the other way. They're more important for a player to see another player than for a caster to see a team. Because player to player, you can see champion picks, you can see what they've played in previous seasons, you can see how they play usually based on what lanes, like if it's a jungler and you can clearly see that every lane, the bot lane does very well, maybe they usually play for bot lane. There you go. Or you could look at, but again, it's the competitive match history is way more important than any solo queue games that you could ever see, because that's how they're most likely going to be playing against you. Against CB Rush this week, you better believe I'm not building full AP Morgana. Like, that's not a
What?
strategy leak.
No way.
But in my solo queue games up until Wednesday, most likely will be. Also, Comet Lulu, not building that in competitive. Heck no, but solo queue all the way. It is always for winning. Solo queue win con is win your lane. Competitive win con, it gets much more complicated than just win your lane, because there's such thing as weak side, there's such thing as strong side, there's such thing as which objective are you playing more, for Herald, for Junk, or for Dragon, all these other things, and that is not any factor whatsoever, especially in gold, plat, and diamond games. In solo queue, maybe in challenger, like when it's top of the top, when you are literally playing with people who mostly play in competitive, like, you know, Proving Grounds and LCS and whoever else, it's like, yes, these people mostly do play in competitive, so they're going to always have that competitive mindset, especially in solo queue, where they're trying to practice specifically for their competitive games, because that's what they're paid to do, right? But in these gold to diamond games, that is not what's happening. People play very different styles depending, like even flex games, right? Gold and below flex games, it's like memed upon that no one really cares, right? It's what you play with your friends when you want to claim you're tryharding, but you're not actually tryharding. You're picking Mundo jungle and first timing it like I did. So I built a bot before this season started to rank every single team based on their average rank. That's what you can actually see in the data logs. I built that before they put it in. And you can see Cape Dog's #1 ranked team. Are they #1 ranked in standings? Absolutely not. Degens also very highly ranked. Are they #1 ranked? No, they are not. So ranked and solo queue are just basically two entirely different games that I don't think should be compared.
I think you touched on it, right? You said it's probably really only good for champion pools. I mean, how deep does that dive? Because I see champion pools for some people, and then they'll just pick something like out of left field, right?
Mhm.
Like I fully expect this guy to pick like an assassin, or I fully expect this dude to pick something else, and then he just goes Malzahar, and I'm like, wait a minute, he's not a Malzahar player. And I look through like season 9, season 8, season 7, like,
Mhm.
do you think that has any merit other than the champ pool thing? Like, can you extrapolate? Like, would you say that because you're in a duo lane, that going from competitive to solo queue becomes really different because you're communicating with that duo laner, right? Like you have the ADC on comms,
Yeah.
versus in solo queue you don't have the comms, so you need to feel like you have to have a little more carry presence. Hence the full AP Morgana stuff or shenanigans or whatever like that. Like, would you say that because you're in a duo lane, you view it so differently? Because when I look at solo lanes like top and mid, top is super matchup dependent, right? And the practice you get in solo queue, I would say mirrors competitive fairly well, right? Because you're gonna be playing Gnar Renekton versus whether it's Dank Weed Slayer 69 versus an actual top laner, right?
Oh,
It's
he's
like,
not an actual top laner.
no,
Let me
right?
check
Like,
OP.GG. Challenger
yeah,
level right here.
yeah. Like top lane, solo lane matchups, I think can translate a little bit better, but I feel like jungle and competitive versus non-competitive is very different. And I feel like duo lanes or bot lanes are very, very different. But I would say mid and top, I can do a 1-to-1 transfer personally, right? Obviously, there's going to be things we disagree on this podcast. Where do you land on that, Moose?
I mean, I would take like the middle road between all of that is flex play. Like flex play, I feel like when a team is playing, when a team is actually trying to be able to get better, but it's like in a practice setting, like not scrims, because there is a difference between scrims and competitive
Flex.
and flex. Like there's all three of those. I would say like if you're trying to practice, if you're a competitive minded player and you're going into tournament, you're going into league play, I feel like you're taking flex as we're going to practice as 5 together against randoms. And it could be against people that are better than us or people that are weaker than us, but we got to be able to learn something. And this is a practice rep for us to be able to try to get better. So I would take a little bit more into flex queue. If teams played more flex queue, I would be more apt to saying, hey, I want to look at their flex queue stats. This is what they've been practicing in the last week there. This is what they've been working on. Let's see if we can bring that if they're going to bring that into the fold here in this competitive game, or maybe they're just trying to have some fun with it, whatever it may be. But the point still stands, it doesn't matter what you do in a scrim. It doesn't matter what you do in your flex play. It doesn't matter what you do in solo queue. If you don't perform in the competitive scene, in the game that matters now, then there's no point. Like you have to be able to perform well. Like it's just and some players have, or I think it's a real thing. Performance anxiety is a real thing. People get nervous when they're in a competitive match, when there's something on the line, and that anxiousness can sometimes lead to players making mistakes. And if you don't practice that, the same thing Cam, were talking about it earlier. It's like, if you've never practiced a game 5 before, and now you're in a game 5 situation, like you're gonna have a tough time. It's gonna be rough. Like the nerves are gonna be there. Things that you didn't expect are going to now have to be talked about. And you're gonna have to be able to discover, hey, this is what I'm good at, and this is where I'm at in this game 5 situation. So much more focused on play that I've seen previously in the league. Then if I were to rank it, I would say games played in the league, then beyond that flex pick, and then at the very low end of that one, solo queue.
Okay.
Okay, he says.
Okay.
I'll give it a solid 4 out of 10.
Okay. No, we are pushing an hour and 55 minutes. I don't think we're gonna get to all the topics that Cam generously wrote for us.
Right.
I want to close it off with one more, and I want to leave it up to something that obviously I think PonyGOAT can talk about too. Just patch 11.17. It just dropped recently. I hope you guys have been keeping up and reading patch notes. If not, we can kind of make this a dual thing where it's, what do you think out of the patch notes? What do you think is going to rise? And also just, do you guys think any champions are going to be rising in light league, mid league, heavy league? Do you see something? Is there something in there that you think is busted that somebody should be picking up? Like, I'm going to start off with Pony.
All right, that's a terrible decision. I am actually a law school student, so
Oh yeah, 18.
the amount
Right.
of time I
Patch-
have to play and learn new patches is terrible. I'm pulling the patch up right now. But if you want to start with like someone who has time, that'd be amazing.
Not me.
Apologies. Patch 11.18. Sorry, not 17. It did just drop.
Lucian go hard. Take one.
Oh, true.
They just bug fixed him. They didn't actually do anything. You
I
said
think-
is it 17 or 18?
It's 18. It's 18. But I guess I'll start then, since we can
Please.
talk about it. I don't know. You guys have maybe caught me in the general chat, but I am like a very avid Lilia top. Like I think that thing is just so good. It's so they buffed / changed her this patch in 11.18, but the fact that she can go Riftmaker, Frozen Heart, Spirit Visage, and still hit like a
Hate it.
truck is kind of insane. Because they buffed her ratios in 11.17. They gave her health regeneration, so Spirit Visage works with her passive as well, and she also keeps the move speed. So she's just like a walking like drain tank, which is better than like Warwick, better than Swain. She's like a steroided, cracked out version of those two. Like it gets kind of ridiculous in laning phase, and it gets kind of ridiculous in team fights, because the old Lilia playstyle when she was a jungler was you build AP, you go Dark Harvest, or you go Predator, or sometimes Phase Rush, and you try to go for that 5-man Q sleep. Now it's like, yeah, you can go for the flash 5-man Q sleep, but you can also flash in, Q, stay in the pocket of a fight, as I like to say, and you'll be fine because you have health regeneration, you have 2 tank items, you have Riftmaker. Like, I think Lilia top is just something that needs to be picked up by some team. If you guys want to pick up wings in light, mid, heavy, just go pick up Lilia top, man. That thing is just too good.
Okay.
Any thoughts on Lilia top? Any thoughts?
You're a gross human
No,
being.
get rid of it. Get rid of it. I hate it. I'm so mad that you brought it up. Get the fawn out of the top lane. She belongs in the jungle.
I agree.
Jungle purity. Jungle
Support.
purity.
What? Yeah,
Oh man.
It's like Lee
But,
Sin top, man. That was disgusting.
that was beautiful.
No.
Jensen
thing
Lee
is-
Sin mid lane.
The thing is, Lee Sin requires skill. Like, Lilia, you click forward, Q, and then leave. And you just do it again.
I mean, Lee Sin, I was told you click E and then you click E again, and then the
Yeah, you
wave's
just
gone.
level 1 E someone top lane and then just walk at them. I played Lee Sin top for the first time in my entire life and beat the living snot out of some kid by walking up and hitting E and then hitting it again and auto attacking him to his turret.
It was a
He's
kid.
a
It was a
fake
kid. It wasn't an
player.
adult.
let me ask you this. How about what do you guys think of Action top lane? Auction top lane.
I think he is underrated as an 80 carry, actually. I think he is much better 80 carry, not a good mid laner because he doesn't have enough walls to E off of top lane. He's alright, but he does take a little more scaling like an ADC does. He's good in matchups that he's not punished super early on, and he's allowed to scale up, similar to that of a Kayle, where yes, he can do early game damage, but he's not going to get until his like power spike phase until he hits the 2 to 3 item power spike, similar to that of an ADC. So when I first started having to support auctions and solo queue, I was like, man, this is so troll. Like, aren't you supposed to play this guy with like an engage and just like hard go in? And it's like, well, turns out you can actually just support him with an enchanter. And once he gets to 2 to 3 items, his E does a ridiculous amount of damage, especially if you scale it early.
I would say action is coming, or Akshan, however you want to say his name. I think it's really weird because you can stick him in a solo lane, but then you have to shore it up somewhere else, right? Because he's an 80 mid laner, or he's an 80 top laner. Well, you still need a little bit beefiness. So do you throw that in the tank, or do you throw that in the jungle role? Well, it's like if Zin's up, I'll take a Zin over Action any day, right? I'll take a Diana over Action any day. It's interesting that you mentioned him in the bot lane as well, because for me, he's like a short range champion, but he breaks the rules because he has boomerang, he has that like grapple.
It's like
and-
Samira.
Yeah, it's really weird because it's a short range champion, but I think the biggest thing is his passive, or his revive passive. I think in light and mid league that could be the most busted thing, because if you get like an action that just like can negate a team wipe, you essentially negate a loss, right? Like it's almost like an XLNC meta. Like Action's probably really good in XLNC and only XLNC only, where it's like the games are coming down to the wire, and then you have Action swinging in with this rope and doing a quadra kill and then reverse pushing, and it's like, wait a minute,
The
wait a minute,
heroics, the
Yeah.
massive comeback right there. That'd be great. I'd love to see it. I'm still vying for Auction in the top lane. I think that you can play him like Mininar, right? He is a Mininar. He's at the end of
Yeah.
the day, he has a leap, he has movement speed, he's got a 3-hit combo where you can go in and deal multiple damage. I think, what was it? Challenging Smite did that thing where you can do a double Q combo or something. I don't know if you can still do that anymore with your E. So like you can do massive damage to a top laner early game with the extra passive procs, and it's like insane how fast you can just obliterate somebody. So one of these days, I mean, I think it can play like a Vayne top. If someone wants to feel comfortable doing it, go into the top lane with Auction, do teleport flash or exhaust flash or something, get some ability to escape. Maybe if you're feeling super confident, don't even take flash, you don't need it, just use your grappling hook to get back into lane. You'll be fine. It'll be great. I getting away from Auction though, because he's great, but getting away from him, I'm super excited for Talia. Talia's my girl. Predator getting adjusted. She got a little slight buff in her Q, so she's not as mana dependent in the early game. If you do the one Q, and I'm the one stone if it's works ground or whatever, so you get more mana back, so you're able to actually like stay in a little bit longer to be able to get moving through those early game and get into the mid game. But I'm a Talia girl, a Talia boy. Talia's my girl. Super excited to hopefully see her be played some more. But a super hard champion to play in my league. Other than that, excited for Ashe nerfs as well. I'm not an Ashe fan. Like, get Ashe out of there.
Have you seen the Draven buffs? Pony, have you seen the Draven buffs where he gets the execute on his R? Do you think that's like nice to have? Is it just kind of like, well, do you think that'll like bump him up? Do you want to play Draven more? Is Draven's problems just like so apparent that this buff doesn't really do anything for him?
I don't like playing Draven in the first place. And I don't like playing against Draven.
Zig's jail.
It's I anything that makes Draven more relevant makes me kind of sad.
I see. And we do have a Fizz enjoyer. I actually think the Fizz changes were a nerf overall. Like, I think they were talking about it, and I saw like Fizz players actually like doing worse, and like his win rate actually went down because of the buffs. Is that just because the way they changed his R chum to waters, where it's like he needs to hit a long range one or like a Gigalodon damage or whatever it's called, and like his on it? I feel like there's so much like random stuff with Fizz where his matchups are just bad right now. Like Syndra is really good into him, Orianna, like all these mages. It's like, what does Fizz really do? Right? And the fact that there's TP in the game, if you don't take TP as a mid laner, and if you're Fizz playing like Ignite and you don't get the kill, you're just useless.
Bad news bears.
It's just, this is really, really bad.
It looks like a bruiser adjustment to Fizz.
Yeah,
we don't like him as full AP assassin. We'd prefer him to be more of like AP bruiser.
What do you guys think of the wacky jungle changes they're doing? Like overall Riot's philosophy on like Zed being in the jungle, Talon, like they tried to make Darius into a jungler, I think. Morgana was a jungler at one point. I mean, what is your overall like guys' opinions on that philosophy of them trying to like just putting, oh, this guy does 300% more damage to jungle camp, so he's a jungler now? Like, do you like what they're doing? Do you wish they were more creative? Do you like the fact that Zed can possibly be like a really good jungler now? Like, is it? I bet Pony doesn't probably like Zed being a jungler or Talon, but I don't know. Moose, Camcom.
I'm okay with it. Like, I used to play a lot of Heroes of the Storm.
Okay.
Back in the day. And one of the big things that I liked about it is that any hero could fill a role, could fill a need for a team and for a composition. Yes, you have a support, but that support can also have damage to it, or that support could have, just more shielding and more engaging tools. And so there was just more options that were available. And I'm not against I'm not against the jungle, and I'm not against other champions going into different lanes. Because I would love to see like Rel, for example. I think Rel would be an amazing jungler if she got damage against monsters on her Q, for example. Like if they gave 200% damage towards monsters, Rel is an amazing jungler that can clear super fast. And now, now she'll never be played in the support role again. Riot, give Rel some monster help in the jungle. Let's get some Rel jungle going. Some horses belong in the jungle, is what I say. But I also say that, see what happens. I'm fine with it for now until it becomes a problem. Like, experiment, enjoy it. When I start seeing Zoe in the jungle, that's when I'm like, have we gone too far?
I mean, Cam, some of your champions, right, have been junglers or have been like solo laners, right? I would say you're a heavy enchanter player. I mean, Lulu top, Lulu mid, Karma top, Morgana jungle, like all this stuff. Like, do you like it when your support champions get put into other roles? Do you feel more confident going into like if you get autofilled like mid top, or do you like just keep my champions in my role, please? Like, stop making them other roles. Like, how do you feel?
I mean, junglers, I think, need two things. They need an easy way to clear camps. Well, they need three things. Should have CC, an easy way to clear camps, and an easy way to gap close for ganks. Like, just some sort of gank setup, whether that is CC or whether that is a gap closer. So champions like Morgana, if you miss your Q, you're not a ganker. You can power farm, but then in team fights, again, if you miss your Q, you're not really helpful anymore. I like it a lot, actually, when my champions go into other roles, because in competitive games, I can tell it's a flex potential, essentially. So it turns into a flex potential that it wasn't before, so it doesn't have to 100% go for me. So if we lock in B1 Morgana, usually that is not that good, but then if I can say we could throw a jungle, we could throw a mid, we could throw a support. If there's some world that Chase wants to play ADC, he probably could if he really wanted to. But like, I just like it when you can have a flex potential, because then usually that does get me my champions more often. Solo queue wise, it's the worst for the same exact reason. The enemy now has 3 potential people that could pick my champion instead of just 1. So it's kind of weird, because like competitive, it's better. Solo queue, it's worse. Which do I care about more? It depends. Yeah.
Depends on just what you're playing.
Yeah.
Pony, got any opinions on, like, since you're an ADC player, I assumed you played ADC when that whole mix-up happened where there was like Vladimir in the bot lane, Irelia, and all that stuff. Were you on the side of ADCs where it's like, they need to play more champions, their role has been kind of the same forever, or were you on the side of like, just let me play Tristana, dude? Like, I don't want to learn how to play Vladimir. Like, this is the dumbest stuff in the world.
Yeah, so we call that Zig's jail where I'm from. But it's nice. It's just good to be able to play more champions. It makes your team more diverse, and I enjoyed it. But like on the jungle stuff, the game, I don't know if you guys watch LCS, so like watch actual competitive teams. The game would get so boring so quickly if they didn't do random stuff with the jungle, because all a meta is a handful of junglers like Trundle and Zinzao, Heckerman, Udyr, and it's like, what champions go well with these junglers, and what do these junglers do? Do these junglers go fast? Do these junglers skirmish? Do these junglers play like Sejuani and gank and CC? Or if they didn't change it, it wouldn't be a very fun game to watch, I don't think. They gotta make it weird.
Jungle does get stale. I feel like jungle is the role that gets figured out the quickest in terms of what is strong and what is weak. Moose, I believe you can probably attest to this. There's like just objectively strong stuff, right? I mean, I don't even want to, like, I blocked that Hecarim Udyr era out of my head, man. Like, that was so bad.
That was awful.
If you're not playing meta picks in the jungle, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Even in solo queue, right? If you pick like Mundo jungle, like, it's like their team doesn't even want anything to do with you. But then if like your solo laner is picking, I don't know, man, like Zyra mid, it's like, oh no, we can make it work. We can do this, and it's like nobody flames. I don't know. Well, we're cresting up on 2 hours and 10 minutes, a bit over the time that we wanted to go over. I believe it was an hour and 30 minutes.
It's all right.
we had time to talk about a lot of things, light league, mid league. Hopefully next week when we do this or the week after, we can talk about the heavy league standings, the heavy league matchups. But honestly, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Moose, Camcom, PonyGOAT for putting the time out. Dory, our production, everybody. Like it's really nice that you guys were able to put the time out, save 2 hours of your life to talk about League of Legends, because I love talking about League. I could go on forever, but I know people have
We all
lives,
could.
families. Hey, you have lives, families. You got to eat. There's a train I have to catch. I think you guys have heard it multiple times now. But
PonyGOAT doesn't have to eat. He just feeds on other bottom laners.
yeah, he feeds. He eats bombs. That's what he does. He's just a Ziggs player. He just eats. I think there's an emote where Ziggs actually eats his own bomb. But any final shout outs, Moose, Camcom, PonyGOAT? Any of you guys?
Shout out to everyone in the league. It's been a phenomenal league so far. Shout out to PonyGOAT as well. PonyGOAT's been great. He's hanging out with me a couple of times in Discord. We've had chats about the league. And everyone that's come in and chatted with me, just in like general chat or whatever. It's been a ton of fun being able to cast with you guys so far. Super excited to move into the second half of the split. And it's gonna be a fun one. Shout out as well to Kendo Slice. Sad that he wasn't here. He's definitely a great co-caster to be with, and looking forward to seeing what the rest of the split holds.
Well, that's
Me?
it. Oh,
somebody.
Camcom.
I thought we were gonna give PonyGOAT shout outs.
You know what it is, Cam, is I did this. I didn't realize that I'm looking at OBS Ninja, and so PonyGOAT's to the right of me, and so I'm pointing to PonyGOAT, and then it's not how it happens in the Twitch chat. So
No.
I'll hang my head in shame. All right, PonyGOAT, you're up.
Yeah, I actually only have one shout out, but it's really important. Any of you guys know when the Mingos play?
Oh, that's a good question.
The
Mingos- that's all.
If only we had a hype train for him or something.
Yeah.
Only we had a video or something like that. Someone would link into the chat. Camcom, you got anything? You love heavy league. You just powerful and killable poros. Shield them out. Come on. I know you're holding it in. I see it in you.
Well, I gotta thank Black Twitch League. I casted for them tonight. Thank you very much. Exciting 2-1. Thank you for the raid. My team, of course, Hayden in the jungle, absolutely destroying every single jungle. The amount of smite steals he's had is ridiculous. He's on 100 ping. He plays in Hawaii. He's smiting away your dragon. That's your fault. Animal in the top lane. He absolutely will destroy you in the top lane. He is cracked out of his mind. Chase, my AD carry, we duoed a lot between the 2 seasons, and then all of a sudden I was like, hey, let's make a mid-league team. Why not? You guys didn't do so hot last season. Let's make a new team. Let's actually win this time, so that this time you can say I went from being an 8th place team to a 1st place team. And then my mid laner, of course, Ross. You got to interview him last week on stream, so I don't have to give him as much of a shout out, but he's still an amazing player. He's our local Malzahar one trick. He's the same mid laner, not actually the same mid laner, but he has the same exact pool that Chase's mid laner had last season. And shout out to Stevie Rush playing you guys this week. Good luck.
And with that, we've got one more. If you guys are brewing for some strats in solo queue, if you guys are steeping in Elo hell, go on down to AM Grind Coffee. Type in the chat, !AM Grind Twitch chat to get a 10% off your next purchase. You already know. I'm drip feeding my way into solo queue. I'm drip feeding into Diamond here with some excellent coffee. !AM Grind Coffee. That's it.
Excellencient coffee? What? Excellencient coffee from AM Grind? No way. No way.
This guy
I
stinks.
can't believe it.
PonyGOAT has never heard this before. He's so confused.
This guy stinks.
Yeah, that's what I am.
What are the other 2 of you guys doing casting this week? Are you guys busy on Tuesday? You guys looking to cast some light lead action?
I know, man. Like, who is this guy, right? Like,
I'm gonna leave now.
Listen. As probably the oldest person on this chat, I can say it. I'm allowed. No response. Absolutely no response.
How old are you? I'm just kidding. Are you
All
like
right.
are you like blow into the Nintendo cartridge old, or are you like do you remember when they had the gamer glove old? are you
Oh, man.
the old game glove old? The power
Dude,
glove? Yeah, do you remember the power glove? Oh my
Yep,
god.
yep. I remember the Power Glove. You know, shout out to the Nintendo 64. You know, helping me throughout my childhood.
PwnStarShibby, I think we
and
can leave now.
the
Yeah.
SNES. Like, is this your guys' bedtime? Like, come
Yeah,
on, guys.
it's my bedtime
like,
an hour
it's
ago, bro.
Like, oh man, you guys got school tomorrow. Come
Yeah,
on,
I
get
do
it
actually.
together.
I do, yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Listen,
bright and early.
well-
Thanks, man.
Well,
Nerds.
I fossilize further in my little cocoon of oldness and decrepit lifestyle that I am. Anyway, it's been fun.
Yes.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for letting me talk League with you guys. We'll definitely do this again.
100%.
I don't know if we'll do it next week. I don't know if PonyGOAT ever wants to come back. Probably not
He's
enjoy
gone.
this at all.
I'm actually gonna fall off the MVP rating so that you call someone else. That's how
Nice.
badly.
Not if you have to
Nice.
play Ziggs. If you play Ziggs, it's no way you fall off the MVP rating.
That's why he's in Six Jam,
I'll leave
man.
the I'll
Like,
leave the team. I'll leave the team. I'll call
Okay.
Void as soon as this is over.
Okay. Well, like I said, that's a wrap up. Thank you everybody for coming down, showing up. I'm gonna leave now. Let's wrap it up. Get
Thanks for having
bring
me,
in
guys.
bring in the dancing lobsters. Come on.
next.
Just trying to defend. Goated. How could you do it to this man?
I was gonna say that everyone was calling me delusional.
Team split. Still a bit.
Sometimes you take a bunch of damage so that you can deal a bunch of damage.
Be going back there. That's gonna be sub pushed way far back. But what are you doing? Gonna get caught on out. JDK gonna get stunned on up, and now it's
That's true orange chicken. Nice.
So much damage. There's one more member that saves you. Take it out of.
Look at this